Hey Hodies, welcome to my channel. My name is hautemesstom and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today I did some stealing. Today I stole. For those of you who don't know, I live with my best friend and, well, I guess it's implied if I live with them. My roommate Tiffany is my best friend and my roommate and also a lover of beauty. We worked at Sephora together. That's not how we met. We actually did meet through beauty. It's a long story, but here's a lovely photo of Tiffany looking hot over the weekend. I went into their room and I took back some of the makeup that I gave them. Now, I'm only temporarily stealing this and just borrowing it. And what I want to do today is kind of go through and try things that I gave them to see if maybe I feel like I made a mistake in decluttering these things. Tiffany is probably the #1 person who benefits from whenever I do a declutter. Like, they live in the house, and then whenever I release product, they kind of get first dibs before anyone else does. So a lot of stuff makes it to them before it makes it to anybody else. So I have a bag full of things. I'm gonna unpack this bag, and if you've been here for a long time, you might recognize some of these products, and if you haven't been, you might be surprised about some of the products that we're gonna uncover. So let me unpack everything from this bag, because I went into the room with it and stole. I brought options in a couple of things because I was like, I'm not really sure what route I'm gonna do. And then some things I've given to Tiffany were backups of mine. In those cases, I will just use the version that I have still in my collection. But a couple of things I'm excited to try again. Sorry, even though I know what's in here, I'm still as I'm unpacking it, I'm like, wow. The only things that I did not take from their room were eyeliner and mascara. You can sanitize an eyeliner for sure, but I don't feel like doing that. So I just was like, if I want to use eyeliner, I'll use one of my own. Tiff's actually upstairs right now working and they were ordering Chinese. So that's on the way, but I probably will wait until I'm done to eat the Chinese if it comes during it. I've been starting with complexion recently, although I want to do a more dramatic eye because I brought down an eye palette that is a little more off kilter, not something that I usually use. So for my eyeshadow today, I'll be using the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette. So a lot of you might be aghast that I would give away such an item. And this was actually gifted to me from a YouTube friend. Her name is Kristen. I don't know which channel is her beauty channel. She was called The Beauty Beatdown, and I think that's still the beauty channel. I haven't heard from her in a while. I hope she's well, and I was really appreciative that she gave this to me. She bought 2 of them. She was just getting into beauty when this palette released, and she thought she was going to go through makeup a lot faster than she will. And she realized that, and then she sent this to me because I was sad that I missed it. I had it, and wouldn't you know that I barely ever used it. And it's not because I felt like it was too special to use. It's just I've come into my own when it comes to color, and this is just not how I play with eyeshadow anymore. Now, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would have been very into this color story. And at the time when she gifted it to me, it made a lot more sense. But Tiffany is still someone who wears a lot more color than I do when it comes to makeup. So this is in their hands, and it's in a better home, I think, ultimately. But I haven't played with this formula in a while. And I did a Kaleidos brand review earlier this year, but I reviewed one of their quads. So I remember liking this formula, but it's been a while. I do still think that this packaging is too big, and I think that they are moving away from it. I am going to try to push myself, so I'm going to use maybe, I might do a lavender-y look. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, I'm going to prime my eyes with something that I also gave to Tiffany. This is the Too Faced Shadow Insurance, and this is what I was using for a while, and then I got sent the one from Blink, which I really liked. But I finished that one up, and I moved on to the NARS one. But I remember really liking this eyeshadow primer, so let me just throw it on the eyes and blend it out and get started. I will say, one thing about Too Faced is with a lot of their product, they're very generous with the amount of product they give you. That's a big honking tub of eyeshadow primer. It's going to take a long time to get through that. And I like that they moved from the squeezy tube to the doe foot applicator, because it used to come in a squeezy tube. Now, I'm sure if you're a working makeup artist, you probably prefer the squeezy tube because it just makes more sense. Does it have a scent? I don't remember it smelling. It does have a little bit of a scent. I don't know. I don't remember it ever smelling before, but it kind of stinks. I'm going to use my own makeup brushes. I'm still testing a lot of makeup brushes, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to go all over the lid with this taupe here, and I do remember really liking this taupe shade. It's Naru. Also, this palette is in a collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist, who in Vegas I got the pleasure to meet, and she is very, very, very lovely in person, and I mean, not that you wouldn't get that vibe from her videos, but she was very, very lovely. I was lucky enough to run into her on one of the, like, during a time where we weren't all together, her and another group of people. So it was Angelica, Heather Austin, K Bella Beauty, and I can't remember if Kat was Heather's cousin or if it was Kelly's cousin, but Kat doesn't have social media, and she was so funny. And also she's like in all the pictures, and everyone kept asking everyone like who that is, and she's just a normal person. And honestly, as she was like telling me that she deleted all of her social media, I was like, really? I have mad respect for that, because who wants to be on social media? But I ran into them the one morning and I had breakfast with them, and one thing I will say is like, watching vlogs that I'm in very passively, and I'm in Angelica's vlog. I'm in Samantha March. I mean, like, I'm in everyone's vlog. Whether I'm in there speaking or if I'm in there just in the background, like, it's kind of bananas. And also, God, it's really fun when you get to control the angle at which people see you, because I was like, although I think I looked really good. I had a really great time in Vegas. Some people were asking for like more details of it. What I will say, it was really magical. And I understand that it was something that I like talked about on the channel. And I did talk about it, like there is a vlog on my Patreon. But what the long and short of it is, it was a very magical weekend for me. I feel like I felt very validated in what I do here on the platform. I felt validated that I got invited, like all of those things. But like ultimately, like the fact that Samantha March knows who I am, and like also like I met Lauren May Beauty, right? And that was like a true moment for me, because like when I started my channel in 2017, like the OG times, not my more recent attempts, in the OG times, like Lauren shouted me out. Like Lauren and I followed each other. Lauren and I have been following each other on Instagram forever, and like to meet Lauren, and like Lauren was just as excited to meet me as I was to meet her. Like it was so cool. And I got to go fragrance shopping with Lauren, and I got to meet Kelly, who I have like a connection with through Kackie, and like that was really great. And like I already loved Kelly, and now I like love Kelly Gooch. Sorry, Kelly Gooch. There were two Kellys. There was one Kelly and then Kelly Gooch. I don't know the other Kelly's last name, but it's K Bella Beauty. And I will try to remember to link people's channels down below as I mention them. But like, oh my God, meeting Kelly Gooch made me just like love her 18 million times more. I got to meet Simbri, who up until that point I hadn't heard speak. It was like really crazy to hear her speak for the first time. It was just like a very, very cool experience. And what I really love is that like it also seemed to be the case for a lot of the other creators that had a really good time. I got to meet Amira, and I was watching her video last night. She was talking about how like we know each other, but we don't know each other. And so it was really great to like actually meet her and spend some time with her and like get to talk with her. And she's really, really great. Hannah Louise Poston talked about us both in this one video. I don't remember what the video was actually about, but me and Amira both recommended the Pat McGrath shade Desert Orchid to Hannah, and Hannah went with Flirtatious instead of the Desert Orchid shade, which I do ultimately think, like knowing Hannah's preferences now, I do think Desert Orchid would turn orange on Hannah and she wouldn't like it as much as me and Amira do. It was very funny that we both got shouted out in that video, and then we started following each other, and now we like know each other. And that's really, really cool. Dr. Ash and her makeup, I got to meet her. I got to meet Natasha. Well, it's just funny because Natasha and I live in the same city and we went to the same high school, but it was like nice to meet her again officially as an adult, because it's been like many years since we were in high school. And I got to meet Sarah Rose B. It was just like very, 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 very cool. And it was cool because it was like a lot of these people like knew me. Oh, Beauty and the Frizz, Kara. I got to meet so many people. And it was really cool. I'm like speechless about having done it. I feel, it's doing this is, and I've talked about this before, and it's really hard to explain, but while there is a lot of connection with the people who watch my channel and engage with my channel, it is pretty lonely on this side of things. And it can, even though you have however many viewers and you get comments on all your videos, it can still feel like really lonely. I don't know. It's, if you don't do it, like it wouldn't make a lot of sense to you as to why it's like, and also just to be like validated in your work by other people seeing it. I met Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner. Oh my God. I love Annette. I love Annette. We were talking in this club and I have a lot of respect for Annette, even though our taste in makeup is really different. Like, I adore her. I adore her. One of those people who I like instant bond with. Like Annette was someone who I felt like like very warm to. I mean, I felt warm towards all of these people, by the way. But it was just like I was like Annette and I talking. I was just like so excited. We were in this place called the Gatsby, which was inside of Resorts World, and it was like a cocktail lounge, but it was really loud. It was like really loud. There was a DJ. It was really, really, really loud music, and there a seat on the couch next to Annette opened up, and Annette was like looked at me and like patted the seat next to her, and I was like, I was like really excited. I met Amanda. Okay, can we talk about Amanda, who's makeup just for fun? I'd heard of her channel obviously, but like at a couple points during like things, I just like kind of ended up very close to Amanda, and we were sitting on a couch for a while because our feet were tired, and we were just talking, and like we had a very instant bond, and I was like, I messaged her. Well, she, because I was rooming by myself, she was so concerned about me. She was like, you have to let me know when you get home. And I was like, sure, I'll DM you. And I did. And then she was like, thank you for following up. It was very, very sweet. But like, I adore her. And actually, she's from West Virginia. She's from Wheeling, which is like not far. She doesn't live there now, but she was like, I visit the Pittsburgh area quite frequently. And I was like, baby, hit me up. I also want to share this anecdote because it has like an instant resolution to it because it's very funny. So when we were sitting on that couch, Amanda was telling me about how if you hang out or stand next to Amanda long enough, her husband will just start doing things for you. And I thought that was like a very funny and interesting thing for her to say. And I kind of laughed it off. And then later when we were at Gatsby's, I ran into her and her husband on the way, and we were like, we got lost, so we didn't know how to get to Gatsby's, and he went on the hunt and like figured out where we needed to go. So we get to Gatsby's, and we like walk up to the table and everyone else is at, and we're standing there, and I'm talking to Amanda. Amanda sits down because again, feet. None of our feet are okay. No one's feet were okay. I mean, I don't know if other people's feet weren't okay, but like my feet were okay, and I know Amanda's feet weren't okay. And we were like chatting some more, and all of a sudden her husband just brings me a drink. I was like, I guess if you do stand next to Amanda long enough, her husband will just start doing things for you, and he did. And that's not to say, I think he was just a very nice person. And that was very, very sweet of him. And I watched him not only do that for me, but very many of the other people who were at the event. So shout out to him because he was very, very fun and very, very lovely. Like he was dancing, he was in it, you know, he was in it with the rest of us, which I have a lot of respect for. So I just feel like I have like a lot of connections. I have a lot of people's like phone numbers that I never thought I'd have, and I try really hard not to abuse it. Like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's really exciting to have this person's phone number, and now I'm too scared to use it. Like, what am I going to text Kelly Gooch? What am I going to text her? I have her phone number. What am I texting her? Hey, girlie, thinking of you. What do you mean? Like, what do I mean? And like, that's not all to brag. It's just like, it was just really, really great. If you want to hear like the day by day and the nitty gritty details, I would check out the vlog on Patreon, but like, just know that overwhelmingly, it's something that I'm going to think back on very fondly for a very long time. And I feel like an immense amount of privilege to have gone to do it. And I feel just really good. You know, I feel incredibly validated, like about all the things that I'm doing here. And I just feel really good. And it's really cool to be able to like call these people like friends now. And like, while we like, you know, it might be like casual friends, right? I'm not going to say that these are my best friends yet. It's like, cool that I can say that now. Like, it's cool that I can say that. Okay, so just as I was doing my eyeshadow, I was just kind of going. I was using a lot of the purples. So as you know, I started with this gray shade, and then I went into this shade, and then I went into that shade, and that's kind of how we built this purple bit. What I will say is the shadows are working really beautifully. This is the best go I've had with the eye brushes from VK Beauty. I just feel like they like this formula better than any of the other formulas that I've tried them with. Like, I didn't really care for them with my Hindash. I didn't really care for them with my Viseart. Like, they were okay, but I think that they've actually worked really, really well with this formula. I don't know if it's because these are like more pigmented and like more colorful shadows, that was why. But it might be. Like, that literally might be the case. Again, I've been really enjoying the face brushes from BK Beauty. It's the eye brushes I've been meh on. Also, shout out, Surratt sent me some of their brushes, so that's pretty cool. I didn't use any of them today. I might use this one. This is, oh, cool. It doesn't have the name of it, but I think this is like their medium-sized regular eyeshadow brush. I'm gonna go into this lavender shade and just kind of swipe it all over the lid. The Surratt brushes, I will say this, are the actual softest brushes. The shapes are really crazy. Not this one so much, but I have one of the ones that like 6 years ago everyone was talking about that look like a literal paintbrush where it kind of almost looks like a calligraphy pen. Here, it's this one. Like that. Here's the thing. I was using it and I was like, I feel like I have no control over this. And then whenever I zoomed out, it was like, oh wow, this comes in a couple different sizes. I did ask them for all three. They only sent me one, which is not me being ungrateful. I did say, I was like, whatever you're willing to send me, go ahead and send me. But I think I need more exploration on that. But they are the softest brushes I've ever used. Let's do a little bit of this green shade in the inner corner. You know, playing with color is pretty fun. That's pretty. It doesn't match the shirt that I'm wearing right now. Sorry, I was just like looking at myself in the monitor. I was like, nothing about what I'm doing on my eyes really goes with what I'm wearing. But this actually was a shirt that I wore in Vegas that a lot of people were interested in. Here's like a follow-up, because I talked about in my like what I wanted to buy in Black Friday video, I talked about how I wanted to buy some stuff from Fashion Brand Company. The Fashion Brand Company sale happened, and then I was looking through everything and I was like, actually, I don't really want any of this. But this is from the Ragged Priest. I bought a piece from the Ragged Priest when I was in Philadelphia. It's that, you know, sweater that's really chopped up, and then the sweater is kind of like a very similar concept, like a sweater. And I kind of been like really into very oversized kind of raggedy clothes. And so I bought some pieces from them with the budget that I had set aside for Fashion Brand Company. So it all worked out in the wash, but you know, I got some new clothes that I'm very excited about. And that pink sweater I wore a couple videos ago, that's also from the Ragged Priest. I think I'm satisfied with this eye look. There's a shade called Nova that maybe I can throw like right on the center of the lid that will brighten things up. Not that it's not bright enough. Yeah, it's a little more blue than purple, but it has some purple in it. Do I want to add anything else? That's good for now. So these actually are very like powdery. Like there's a lot of kick up in the matte shades, but the shimmer shades, I didn't get any fallout. I'm not really using glitter glue and I didn't use my finger, so that's all good. That also could be a testament to the brush I'm using, but you know, the eye look is pretty. I could also probably do this same look I did with eyeshadows that I still have in my collection. So that's what to be said for that. Okay, now we're like moving on to, I think, well, we're moving away from eyeshadow, which of course means we're moving into things that I'm more excited to talk about. And some of these things have been out of my collection for a lot longer. I made Tiffany buy this, but I also think I gave them one. Maybe I didn't, because mine was gratis and this one's not scribed. Either way, I either bullied Tiffany into buying one of these or this is my old one. 2 years ago during Messmas, which is the project formerly known as Messmas, but it was a project where I was trying to use every piece of makeup that I had in 30 days. And during that process, I tried a lot of things in my collection that I hadn't even like opened yet. And the Laneige Glowing Makeup Serum was one of those things. I don't even know if they still make this. And I would use it as a primer, and I fell in love with it. And I really, 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 really did love it. And I mean, I have a feeling that I'm going to put it on today and be like, wow, I really like that. In PR, I got sent the Thorn Oil from Ritual Defeat, and it kind of like knocked it out of the spot. But I do think that this is better for people who have oily skin. And even though I do have oily skin, and I do prefer the Thorn Oil, this is a serum. It's not an oil. And it just makes your skin look really luscious. This was one of my favorite things coming out of that project until I did get the Thorn Oil, but I'm just going to use it as a primer. I did almost pick a different primer out of Tiffany's collection, and I almost thought, like, sorry, I'm just smelling these things because some of these things are old, and I'm just like, maybe Tiffany also shouldn't be using them, but it smells fine. I think my hands smell from something else I've touched because, well, maybe, hold on, let me just smell the container. Yeah, that's my hands must smell like something else, which is a little bit alarming. They say you could use this as skincare too, But it's just, it's like a glowy primer, and that's what I use it for. It felt just like I remember my skin feels plump. Honestly, I could see myself going back to this at some point. Like, I just really, really liked it. I just love the way my makeup all, like, laid on it. And I feel like this was before I was really, really well aware of, like, that dewy finish being my preference. Because I feel like when I went into that project, the makeup that I was mostly enjoying at that time, I was, like, it was, like, a transitionary period. And I think that this product showed me that it's, like, maybe you do, like, a glowy base. Because I think that, like, one of my favorite foundations as I was going into that project was the NARS Soft Matte Foundation, which I still think is a really good soft matte foundation. However, I just feel like going out of that phase and into my new preferences. Speaking of something that used to be a big fave of mine is the Kackie. This is the, God, what is this even actually called? Future Skin Oil-Free Gel Foundation. Now, this was pretty full when I gave it to Tiff, and they've been kind of using it as their daily foundation. Like, look at that. Look at it. Now, here's why I decluttered it. It just wasn't as good as the Surratt, and I think that they served similar purposes in my makeup collection. Like, they had similar coverage. They were, like, pretty light coverage, but they did a lot of, like, what I call, like, the filter effect on my face, where it just, like, makes my face look nice and filtered, but not a lot of coverage, and that's like what I'm very much into. The other thing about this is like this formula is like really good like if your skin's like not in the best of conditions. They say it's full coverage. It isn't. But like isn't it so lovely to see like something I decluttered to someone just get a lot of use in their collection? And whenever I gave it to Tiffany, because Tiffany was one of those people who's like, that was really expensive and I don't want to use the expensive thing. And I'm like, I gave it to you. You didn't buy this. You can use it all the way up. You don't have to buy it again. You can certainly use it if you like really enjoy it. So let's see if I still see what I feel. And I think the reason I liked the Surratt more than this ultimately was that the Surratt is like a little more, I think a little more dewy. A little more. I mean, it's called the Dewdrop Foundation, so you would think. But you see, like, even as I blend this out, it's, like, not really doing a lot of coverage. It's just kind of, like, a little bit of a filter effect. You can certainly build it up, too. That's what I remember. Yeah, I feel like now that I'm putting this on again, it was, like, this and the Surratt hold, like, a very similar space in my makeup collection, and I prefer the Surratt. Yeah, I think my skin looks really good. It holds up. It holds up. I mean, I stand by my review of it, which I gave it a very positive review. It was a while ago, though, so I don't really remember all the things I said. But what I will say is that I stand by it. Like, I stand by the positive review. It is an expensive foundation. And I think that's also the other thing. It's like, if I am going to pay upwards of $75 to $80 for a foundation, the Surratt one is just where it's at. Although you do actually get, like, a full ounce of this. And also, I can't wait for Tiff to use it up, because they seem to be well on their way. Something more modern that I tried, that I gave to Tiff, is the Charlotte Tilbury Concealer. This is the Beautiful Skin Concealer, and I have the shade 2. I don't have the shade. Tiffany has the shade. Tiff has the shade 2. I just remember thinking that this was really bright, but Tiff took it from me a while ago, and like after I decluttered it, Tiff took it. And they really get on with it. So maybe I was wrong. I remember thinking it was thick and that there wasn't a lot of coverage. And I remember thinking, why is it so thick if I'm not getting that much coverage? So I'm just going to dot a little bit underneath my eye. And I remember the shade being like a little bit bright. And that's okay. Like, I don't mind brightening. I don't remember hating this, though. I just remember thinking it's not where I would start if I was shopping at Charlotte Tilbury, Although, that looks pretty good. I certainly remember liking this more than the Beautiful Skin Foundation, which I also didn't hate. Also, I was using those two products together simultaneously, but now that I have this on my under eyes, I kind of get it. Like, it does look pretty good on my under eyes. It's a little more emollient than the ones that I use. I feel like the concealers I typically like have a bit of a self-setting property to them. But I do feel like it is radiant. Like, you can definitely see it's pretty glowy. That is the concealer. It's not, the Laneige Glowing Makeup Serum doesn't really fight all the way through everything. It just kind of gives your skin, like, it makes your skin plump. It makes it glowy, ready for things to go on. It helps things glide on. But it's not going to give the concealer that much of a gloss. Okay, so then We're gonna move on to powders. So I have a couple powders. Now, this one's cheating because I did ask Tiffany if I gave this to them or if they bought it on their own. I couldn't remember. I had a vague suspicion that it was something that they had bought on their own. So this is Pat McGrath's Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. Now, this was originally up against the Chantecaille powder in the very first Battle of the Blur. I'm working on a new Battle of the Blur with this versus the Sicily. But here's what I remember about this. I remember liking it. I remember that if you go overboard on it, if you apply too much of it, then your eyes are going to look like the Sahara Desert. And now, considering, I guess, that this concealer formula is a little more radiant, that could be a little bit helpful. But I'm normally very generous with the amount of powder I use. So I'm just going to tap in a couple of times with, I'm going to tap off excess, and I'm just going to pat it in the under eye. And when I did my Battle of the Blur video, I remember thinking that this blur was more powerful, but I just felt like this blurring powder was a little more specific. But my under eye does look really good. I'll zoom you in. I had a comment not that long ago about how when I was really zoomed in, you couldn't really tell the blur. And I think that is just the reality of a blurring product, is that it's playing with like light. And if you're too close, it doesn't really matter because you're not at a distance where like the light's refracting enough. But that's with the powder. This is without. It looks really good. I don't have any regrets about decluttering this though, because the Chantecaille I like using all over my face, and you can absolutely use this all over your face, but it is a brightening powder. And so if you put it all over your face, it's gonna brighten. But so that's why I think it's mostly meant for the under eye. I was talking about this in a recent video where I really appreciate the ability to kind of just like schlep things on, and like knowing that that powder is a little bit iffy about how much you can use of it. That's when the things become a problem for me, where it's like I can't just like schlep that on my face. So it's like if I can't schlep it on my face, then like what are we doing? And then I also took this. This is the Hourglass powder in dim light. Now I remember this, really liking this, but I also remember feeling like it always made my makeup look heavy, but not immediately. I feel like it at first made my makeup look really good, but then my oils broke through it pretty quickly, which I think is okay. Like it depends on like what kind of finish of makeup, and I like the finish initially, but what I mean by heavy, it just would be like, it would look like my face of makeup could at any time just go like fall off. Like it just made my makeup look visibly heavy. It didn't feel heavy. But I also think that this shade in particular is a little bit too dark. This is one of the brushes that Surratt sent me. I believe that this brush retails for like $240. And I got it in PR. But what I will say is like it is the softest brush. Okay, so I'm gonna take some of Dim Light. I'm gonna apply it to half my face, and we'll check in and see if this side of my face looks a little bit darker than the other side. I don't remember that being too much of a problem, but I was recently watching Kat, the Kitsch Snitch, and she was talking about this product, and I think we're close enough in skin tone. Ooh, now I have sparkles all over my face. I don't know how that happened, but so here's the thing. I think this looks fine, but I would like a little more blur. And this is also technically a finishing powder, just like the Chantecaille is technically a finishing. I don't know what I did to get this glitter all over my face. Okay, I'm gonna do it to the other side since we're gonna keep things even. So yeah, I took down the, mattified a little bit. It leaves that like beautiful hourglass sheen. I don't know. I feel like I'm not missing out on this. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's gonna be better for people with dry skin, for sure. What I also liked using it for was like if I went too hard on blush or something, it was really nice. It was really nice for that to kind of clean things up. And then I also gave Tiffany one of these. It's actually in the same packaging, the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Powder. I'm just using mine. I didn't bring theirs down here because, mine's well loved. And I'm just gonna put that on top. In reality, I would probably just use one or the other, but considering I don't really like dim light, this might just be helpful to like buff everything in. Now we have some other complexion products to play with. For contour, this is crazy that I had this. I'm gonna use the Park Ave Princess palette from Tarte, and I'm gonna contour with it. I bought this because it was a thing that existed and then it went out of stock, and then we had it in stock randomly at Sephora for holiday. Like, they brought it back one year and I was like, I need that because Smoky Glow likes it. And I'm not even kidding. That was like the exact reason. This is a palette that fell from grace because of a number of things. One, I know that I like a gray contour, and I know this is more of a bronzer, which is like not what I'm looking for. Okay, I don't want a bronzer. And this is a face palette. And I am not going to use these highlighting palettes, even though that I could use this one. I never really understood the highlighting powders, like the matte highlighting powders. If I was a makeup artist, I probably would really understand it. If I was a makeup artist, this could be worth my while. And then maybe I could use this one in the summertime. And then what am I doing with these last two? No way. No way, no way, no way. All right. So for my brush, I've been just this is the BK 112. Look at that. Look at that. It's so itty bitty. Because I also have like a big contour brush from BK. Look. And one thing that I think, like, this just gives me so much control when it comes to contour. And like, this is okay to like buff things out with in a contour way. But like, this is precision. So I'm going to use this to apply. And I'm going into, again, the shade Carrot. Let's have it in here. It's so much. I also just feel like I've been using the Ritual Defy Intuition cream pigment, and I feel like you can tell just like how much more pigmented this is versus what I usually use, because I feel like Intuition is just, again, so intuitive on my skin, and this is like warming things up, which it could be desirable for some people, right? And I do think that this kind of contour, it's like beginner friendly, but also if you're just getting into contour, I don't think buying a face palette is really going to be like worth your time. You know, like it's just like, I think it would just overwhelm you even more. Not that they even make this anymore, but like, yeah. Just as I'm putting this on, I'm like, this is not something that I miss. And it's not because it's bad. I actually think Tarte's powders, like blushes and highlights and bronzers, are pretty good. In fact, I had that Twinkle palette for quite some time before I got rid of it. Yeah, that's like too warm. That's too warm. It doesn't feel like... Sorry, I'm using my monitor just to make sure that how things are looking on camera. To make sure that what I'm saying that I see is also what you're seeing. But it's blended really well. So I will say that. And I also think that this particular BK brush is like for contour. It's really good for contour. It's also really good for blush, which we probably will use it again for blush. Another Hourglass product. I have Diffuse Bronze Light. Tiff actually has two Hourglass bronzers, this one, and then I think they have the next deeper one. I really remember loving this bronzer, and the reason I got rid of it is because I feel like I got more into more visible bronzers, and I just feel like this is just a complete, oh wow, that's beautiful. What I've always liked about this bronzer, and when I had it, I remember just singing its praises. When I worked at Sephora, I sold this so much because it's like a bronzer you can throw on your face if the shade works for you, and it's just like, it's gonna do the work. The thing is, when you swatch these, because of the like highlighter bit in it, and like, yeah, there is a sheen to it. It's not sparkly, it's just a sheen, which is kind of just like par for the course when it comes to Hourglass, with the exception of their highlighters. Like, nothing is really sparkly. It's all just like a beautiful sheen. Ooh, I like that. I have so many bronzers though, but like I stand by that this is like kind of like creme de la creme bronzer. They only have 4 shades of this, which is like garbage. And the other thing is, their bronzers in their holiday palettes don't have the highlighter shade in it, and those always showed up too strong for me. But this, like, that's just like such a natural bronze on me. It's just, that's really beautiful. I'm thinking about it a little bit, you know, like stealing this back. I think they'd let me because they have another one. I brought down 2 blushes. One is the Jouer Coquette Blush Duo. We really go with what we're doing here. But I also brought down this because I forgot that I ever had this. But it's the Chantecaille Butterfly blush. And I think I remember just thinking that, like, it didn't do anything. So let's start with that. And then if I feel like I need more blush, we'll go into the more pigmented Jouer. Okay, that's pretty. This is pretty. It's definitely much more my speed now than it was whenever I had it. I was really into orange blushes when I got this blush, and I was just starting to explore like brands at the price point of Chantecaille. And I still think that like these are overpriced. Like there are definitely some things from Chantecaille, which I think as a whole the brand is overpriced. But like I would be willing to buy this powder being one of them. The single shadows being another thing. That's pretty, but I don't miss it a little bit. Let's go in a little bit with that shade. I'll keep it focus back here. Kind of do a little bit of blush draping. And that way it does look like I have attempted a little bit of blush. Again, not really missing this. I think that I have found some, because the whole reason I bought this, and I maybe even this, was that I was wearing, oh, surprise, 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 surprise. I was wearing cool toned looks, but I really love a warm blush. But like there was just like a lot of dissonance when it came to like the looks I was doing, where I would do like an eye look like this, and then I would be wearing an orange cheek, and it's like that doesn't really go. That doesn't really go. And that's why I bought this, and I was like trying out a shade different out of my comfort zone. But I've found blushes that work with cool tones that aren't this. And I also recently bought, I will talk about it because, you know, we're here. I bought this from Valentino. This is one, their blush. Well, it's the eye to cheek in the shade 3. It has a longer name. It's just not on the product, but it's this. And I feel like this is like the more nuanced upgrade from this. You know, like those are same thought, but look at that. Okay, we'll talk about that more at another time, but it's certainly a thing I have right now. Oh, highlighter. So Tiff has the Lit Up Highlight Stick from Westman Atelier in the shade Nectar. This was something that I gave them, and I'm just going to tap it into my skin. It's a very pretty, like, natural looking highlighter. And of the balmy highlights that I have tried in my time, I do think so far that Westman Atelier, I think, has the best formula. It's been the most adaptable formula of the ones that I've tried. Like, it's just much better than the Victoria Beckham one. Comes in a few more shades. The Victoria Beckham one comes in 2 now, but it's still not that many shades. But yeah, I don't need something like this. However, funny enough, I have one of the super loaded highlights, and I bought this when I was in Vegas. I bought both this and the Valentino Eye to Cheek in Vegas. So I have that as well. Guess what? I can't really open it, and I don't feel like opening it to show you, but I bought Peau de Rosé. Again, we'll talk more about that in another video, but yeah. Okay, I'm going to throw on some mascara, and I'm going to zoom you out, and oh, I didn't pick a lip. Okay, and then I think it's in my purse upstairs. I was going to use, okay. All right, I'm going to use one of the other shades from it. At the Creator and Friends event, we got some PR. We got Surratt Soufflé shadows, and of course, I was hoping to get CL whatever. It's like the one that Kackie really likes. I didn't ask for whenever they offered that PR to me. Anyway, we got all Ravi Beauty, Allie Glines' brand. Allie Glines gave us the 3, I think there's only these 3 lipstick shades, and then also her makeup bag. That makeup bag, I talk about it in my vlog, but I'm going to use the shade Lily, which I haven't used on my lips yet. And Tiff swatched this shade, and they were like, can I have this one? And I saw their swatch, and I was like, no, you can't. It's just a nude. The shade Dahlia has been in my bag since I got it. I was wearing it in Vegas after we got it. I really like that shade. But these are really nice. It's like a thicker formula. It feels pretty nourishing. Has a nice glossy finish. I'm kind of into them. I have no idea how much these cost. I had no idea how much these cost. I didn't look into the brand whenever it was released because it was like, I don't know that I'm like that interested in the lip product. This is the final look. I mean, it's a cute look. It's a cute look. It was really fun getting to play with some makeup that was once mine. If I'm going through all of the things that I don't really miss them, but impressed me the most, or that the fondness I had for them at one time came back to me, were the Laneige Glowing Makeup Serum, the Chantecaille Future Skin Gel Foundation, the Hourglass Bronzer. I mean, that really impressed me. And the Pat McGrath Blurring Powder. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. You just have to know what you're doing when you're getting into it. And then one thing that I liked more this time than any times I've tried it previously was the Beautiful Skin Concealer. But I'll give this back to Tiffany because I have other concealers that I really like. But that was something that I enjoyed using today, and much more than any of the times when I was in my testing phase with it. Anyway, that wraps up the video. I guess I can't really be like, have you ever stolen your makeup back from a friend and to see how you feel about it? But this was a very fun experiment, and if you can do something like this, I highly recommend it. It was pretty fun to get my hands back into some of these things. If you happen to be new to my channel and you made it all the way to the end of this video, first of all, thank you for giving me a shot and sticking it out. But if you didn't catch the vibe of my channel is mostly about loving my makeup collection as it currently is, while being very discerning about what I bring into my makeup collection. So I like to try to build the habit for myself and help you build the habit of being very sorry, there was a fuzz. Of being very discerning about making a makeup purchase, is looking at our collection to see if we can satisfy that hunger of a new item with the stuff that we already own before we make that purchase. So I would love to have you subscribe if you like that vibe. I'm also on patreon.com, as I said a couple times, patreon.com/hautemesstom. There's no pressure to join my Patreon. Over there, I do additional content, obviously, and I also do my podcast with my friend Kackie of Kackie Reviews Beauty. Again, there's no pressure to do that. Liking, commenting, sharing my content is a fabulous way to support me, and I really appreciate that too. But thank you to all my current patrons. You're the best. I have some merch down below if you're into merch. No pressure, though. It's, very casual. If you want it, you can get it. If you don't, don't. I'm on Instagram if you also want to follow me there. Instagram.com/hautemesstom. And that wraps up the video. I hope you're taking care of yourself in these times. In these times in the world, but also, just this December. It can be very tough navigating through December for a lot of people. So I hope you're taking care of yourself the best you can, as well as taking care of everyone else, but take care of you first so that you can better help other people. Remember to follow your haute and you'll find me. I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye-bye.